I'm Luke Jamison.
And I'm Laura Butvinnick, and we totally geek out about employee experience.
We're on a mission to discover how putting employees at the center of your organization impacts business.
So join us as we dive in with thought leaders, employee experts, and the best experience creators.
This is Boost, a podcast proudly powered by Centrical.
Here are your hosts, Luke and Laura.
Hey, and welcome to Boost.
We've got an incredible show for you today. Let's get Jillian, our producer, out here to kick us off with who's joining.
Oh, I'd be happy to share that with you guys. We are so excited to welcome Dennis Wakabayashi to the Boost stage. He helps enterprise brands all over the country create lifetime customer value, and he even founded a group for CX experts called the Customer Experience Factory. Dennis is an influencer in the customer experience space, but there's even more of a reason that we wanted him to join us for this episode. He actually was able to attend an event called Expo 2020 Dubai, which was a months-long conference all about connecting minds. He has some incredible insights and learnings to share around the topic of creating the most engaging experiences in the world and how we can tie that to the employee experience. I don't know if you guys saw any of the content that came out of Expo, but it looked absolutely unreal. I cannot wait to hear about Dennis's experiences there, especially through that employee engagement lens.
Oh my gosh, Jillian, I've been trying to follow all of his content online. I am so jealous. I really want to go to Dubai, and since unfortunately I cannot, I'm excited that he can be here today to share what he learned.
Honestly, every moment was Instagrammable. It was incredible, really incredible.
And Dennis did such a good job of covering it too. I mean, he had like some incredible vlog videos, and I just keep seeing it trending everywhere. It just looked amazing. So very, very excited to have him.
I have a feeling this one is going to be very edutaining.
I see what you did there. Oh, jinx!
Oh, look at that. Well, I was thinking the same thing, Luke, and I was thinking, do you guys want to start off with a little edutainment of our own?
Yes, please.
Obviously, I think it's time for a little Two Secrets and a Lie. For this game of Two Secrets and a Lie, we're talking about gamification. So which of the following is the lie? Gamification of training features results in the following: 40% increase in employee engagement, a 50% increase in productivity, or a 90% increase in learning retention.
Oh, all right. I'm going to go with A on this one. I think it's even more. I'm a big believer in gamification.
All right, Luke?
Oh, I've forgotten them all.
He's
so
like, it's one of them.
C.
It's one of them.
Let's lock in C just to be different today.
Oh, okay. You want to just go for it without remembering?
Yeah, I was so mesmerized by like the execution of the questions that I actually forgot what any of them were.
Okay. Laura, you are correct. It is actually 60% increase in employee engagement.
Gosh.
You were right. You believed in it.
Yes. All right. It feels a little bit cheap because Luke didn't even realize what was going on, but I will take the win. Thank you.
Take the win.
Thank you.
I think that brings us at a draw.
I think that's a strategy piece on Laura's part, that she realized that her opponent was distracted, so she could just swoop in.
Yeah, I was like, I'm getting there first. I got this.
I'm gutted, man. You know how much I like winning these things.
That's all I have time for today, and I believe that our guest is waiting in the wings, so thank you all for having me. You two can take it from here.
Thanks,
Jillian.
Introducing Dennis Wakabayashi. Dennis, I've been seeing a lot on your social media about an expo in Dubai. I'd love to hear a little bit about that and what's been going on.
So Expo 2020 Dubai was the greatest experience on earth. And when I heard that on the internet, I wasn't really sure what to make of it. I mean, that's a big claim, the greatest experience in the world. And so I went there myself to find out. I was asked by the Expo to come and cover some of their customer experience stories, learn about the last few years where they've put this together. They've been working on it since 2013. I met the leaders who were producing the events, from producing the actual architecture and the streets and building the city of the future, to people who were doing the virtual experiences, online digital experiences that would live on forever. Each of the people had an interesting take that I hadn't heard before with regard to customer experience, so my eyes were opened a little bit.
Your feed is amazing, and the content you're putting out at the moment is so good. One of the things I saw on some of that content, you've got this new hashtag, or I don't know if it's yours, but Edutainment. So when talking about the Expo, so what's the value of edutainment for organizations today, and how can it be applied to both customer and employee experience?
When I teach at the universities, I often try to drive home this idea of producing content on the internet that gets results. So we see 85% of content is user generated, and it generally doesn't convert or apply to a larger business practice of scaling. And what I try to tell the students is focus your energy on either education, which is content that provides value for listeners or readers that they may not have prior. And then there's entertainment content, which is about the emotional energy. And the reason I separate these two things, predominantly for business executives and students, is because when you mix education and entertainment content, you often get either spectacular results or you get cancel culture. So we try not to educate and evoke emotion when we're talking about a lot of things on the internet because it's volatile. Well, edutainment, when done well, and it takes a lot of thoughtful understanding about your customers or the audience, their behavior, their needs, and Expo really nailed the edutainment piece of it. And large part because, first of all, they were well-funded. Second of all, they had a thoughtful plan, and they did a ton of behavioral analysis. There was a woman there named Ala who did extensive human behavior research prior to the Expo that gave all of her teammates insights around how to put together experiences that both taught us about the past, present, and future, but really spoke to our hearts and our minds and culture. That's edutainment.
So what sorts of things did you experience there where that made you sit back and think, wow, that is edutainment done right?
The entire Expo was set up with these ideas of mobility and sustainability and opportunity. Really looking at one, mobility was from the onset, the transition of humankind from walking to riding horses to going to the moon, going to Mars. So there was this narrative that captivated you in terms of this adventure. And then it applied all of these high-tech approaches to virtual environments, screen projectors, interactive things that captivated all of your senses while bringing you along the journey of humankind and giving you an idea about where we could possibly go in the future. So it was all those things, heartwarming, reminiscent, nostalgic, futuristic. It was all of those things.
You mentioned something just then. You talked about a narrative and storytelling, I think, is so powerful. I don't think it's something we do enough. And particularly from an employee side of things, how do you think things like narratives or storytelling can be applied to employee experience?
I've often felt that our approach to objectives and results and timelines and organizational alignment across organization has often been fueled with this sort of aggression. And I always wondered, I think it leads to good efficiency, but low morale. And hierarchies in organizations also cause this friction between employees. I'll just say this. At Team Wakabayashi, I started my company last year. I've grown to over 80 employees. And one of the things that I hear regularly, but in fact, I heard just last week, was one of my people said, hey, I want to tell you, this is the first time I've ever been truly fulfilled in a job. And it's like no other job that I've ever had. So that said, that's constant feedback. But what's important about that is I set out to create that. And I knew that my business model was different, but it was my own business model. So I did everything differently. And I thought I was pioneering this thing and it was working. And I was very happy. Turns out I was late to the game. When I got to Expo, there was an international body of leaders who had already made the transition to a fail forward fast, or as at Team Wakabayashi, we like to say, fail better. They've made the transition where they've normalized adversity in problem solving, adversity in the workplace. They've normalized this idea that to get to greatness, We have to solve in an ongoing way the challenges ahead of us. And that change in culture across an entire team is what I really think is the most important aspect of creating a healthy culture in a working environment. And now, one, I've proved it on a very small level, but Expo proved it with over 146 countries that maybe diplomatically were not entirely aligned. However, at this Expo, you had all races, creeds, cultures, business people, entertainment people.
I want to hear a little bit more about this revelation, it kind of sounds like, or just this, you opened your eyes a little bit to the importance of employee experience. And especially with your background, what do you think from customer experience can really be applied to creating amazing, engaging employee experience?
I think that we've looked at customer experience through the lens of scaling revenue, and we've looked at it as a business practice. And what I think I saw at Expo, and I'm seeing elsewhere now as a trend around the world, is ironically putting the human being at the center of what we do. And that can mean employee experiences or customer experiences or citizen experiences. When we focus on individuals and we try to manifest a greater reality for a single person in our organization, that behavior scales without the need of financial stimulus. It scales without the need of a lot of energy from real estate or other levers that we use in business. And it's just a kind of magic that most people in business don't quite believe yet.
When I think of like great experience I've had and jobs that I've been engaged in, it's those where I feel like, I don't know, it's really about me. Like what I'm hearing from your story is you're there's all these people, but also just you as an individual had an amazing experience. And that's what kind of got your attention.
Laura, let me tell you, any business that celebrates you as a person on a personal level. So we learn from customer experience that it drives revenue. Let me talk to you about personalization for the employee. For some reason, we don't see a lot of personas on HR planning. Personas give us this insight into a group of people that let us narrow our focus to the individual. And here's the thing, you're not the same person every day. You're not the same person at every moment. In the mornings, you might be one person. In the evenings, you might be another. We all are changing as people all of the time. And for employees to be put into a box and penalized for failure or not celebrated for achievement or personal growth, that's the seed that has to change if we want to see employee experiences reach the level of customer experiences in terms of financial benefit.
I feel like right now we're at the age of the employee. We've gone through the CX wave where we're at that point where if you're not treating your employee as a human, as an individual contributor that has their own personality and doesn't have to fit into producing the widgets that were rolled down from the top of the organization, if we're not treating them as a human that can bring their whole selves to work, then you're going to lose people.
Do you remember Star Trek? Do either of you watch Star Trek?
Yes, I'll admit it. I've dabbled in the arts of Star Trek.
Here's one of the important lessons of Star Trek. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And what I would go on to amend that is to say the needs of the few teach us about the needs of the many. And that's why it's so important to reverse or add that piece of information that we're learning from Expo to scale positivity throughout our workplaces. We can't keep running our corporations like war machines. We have to start thinking about running our corporations like farms or things that nurture each other and the economy.
That's the teaser.
Oh, you're
right there.
dropping truth bombs right there. Yeah, and I mean, employees want to share that. Employees want to be heard. They want to say what's working, what's not working. It's kind of up to the company, I think, to listen.
You know, Laura, I'll give you a perfect example. People expect a mother to take time off to deal with her thing and then come back and be the person she was before. And that's a completely twisted mindset for anyone to have. We all are changing continuously. I literally know things more today than I knew yesterday. Why we would try to conform people or isolate them to a production or assembly line mentality when we can treat them like a garden is beyond me these days. And Luke, to your point, it is a global economy. There's workforces awake everywhere in the world, and you simply don't have to work for a company anymore that doesn't have a cultivation mindset.
Dennis, you're a connector of people. It's when we've met before, like that's been your thing. I'm a connector of people, and you do such a good job of it. How do you effectively connect people in your job?
You know, Luke, I think it's like our relationship. I have a clear focus. My number one job is to help people get from point A to point B. That's it. So my only motivation is to help the individual or the person along their journey. I don't connect for my own journey. My own journey takes care of itself because I only surround myself with people who are on journeys trying to get from one place to another. And our paths intertwine over time, over the years, but I don't interact with people who are me focused, are only focused on what they can get as one step in the journey. I'm trying to cultivate relationships, and I tend to focus on other people who are adventurers in the journey of life.
How do you think organizations can do that?
I've said a couple of negative things about the corporate current status quo, but what I will give corporations credit for is they are connecting people. Many of our corporations now are larger than small countries. So I would say that corporations are already doing a great job at connecting people. And I just think it's time to introduce some renewable energy when it comes to the mental health and spirituality of the organization. I think businesses that could apply a renewable energy sort of mentality to their teams would benefit in the short term and prove a longer term sustainable model for their businesses.
That's the future, right? How have you seen culture, whether it's, this renewable future thinking one or also bad, affect both the employee and the customer experience? Like what is the outcome of that good or bad culture?
Let's talk about the good culture. A good corporate culture will plant seeds of adaptability towards their procedures to account for the stages of life that a person goes through. So that could easily be, what are they doing when they're in their 20s? When they start a family, new kinds of supports and energy should be applied to cultivate that family or that person. We see that when we introduce these things at different stages of life, that's an easy lens to look through. I've seen other companies like Jones Lang LaSalle, second largest commercial real estate company in the world. Some friends of mine over there have been working on innovation for the last few years. And what they've done is they've created an application that helps to tailor the recommendation of the office environment that's specifically suited to the individual needs of the employees, including what their commutes look like, where their children go to school, where their dry cleaning is, where their gym is. So I'm not saying that you have to go to the vast, extensive lengths that Jones Lang LaSalle is going, but merely just not treating everyone the same would go a long way towards the benefit. And when we see people do this, I think you see higher retention rates in employees. And I suspect you probably get a kind of efficiency that you didn't suspect.
Someone who maybe goes out on maternity leave is going to come back a mom. That's a totally different person who has different needs.
I'll tell you that with the gig economy, people now will take their work wherever they want to go for as many companies as they want to work for. And I suspect the employees will begin to create a reconciliation of the idea of work, and they won't be working for one company anymore. It's insane to think that you would put all your eggs in one basket for a pilot at the helm of a ship of which you have no idea where it's going or all the workings that are in it. I believe that we're going to move to a hive or a hub and spoke model for the most agile businesses.
Dennis, do you have time to stick around for one more segment of our little variety show?
Yes.
Luke, I think that it's time to play a little Fate of the Eight. Fate of the Eight, where we look into the magic 8 ball to decide our fate. Will it be a question or will it be a game?
Dennis, the fate of the 8, we've got a whole heap of games and questions in our little bag of tricks. So we ask our magic 8 ball what it is that we think you should either answer or play. Laura, what do we got?
All right, let's do this. Magic 8 ball. Will Dennis have to compliment myself and Luke for a whole minute straight? Please say yes. Let's see. Not a chance. All right. Magic 8 ball. Will Dennis play a game of this or that?
I could have done that too.
Oh, absolutely. All right. It's a game of this or that. Ready? This is Spitfire. This or that. Let's go, Luke.
All right. Vlog or podcast?
I think vlog for me personally as a content creator, but podcast as a consumer.
Dubai or America?
Woo! I would definitely say Expo 2020 Dubai.
Ooh.
Whoa.
All right. Work from home or in the office?
Home.
Nice. And presenting in person or presenting virtually?
In person.
Nice. Nailed that. Dennis, thank you so much for hanging with us. We hope it was edutaining enough for you after your exciting time in Dubai. But just a few more things before we get out of here. Where can our amazing audience find you online?
You go to denniswakabayashi.com or teamwakabayashi.com.
Thank you so much, Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis.
How lucky are we to get such awesome guests on like Dennis? That was really, really awesome. So, mind-blown moments. What was yours, Laura?
I think my mind-blown moment was when he was talking about how it's going beyond just connecting people and really using connection as this kind of renewable energy, and that's what makes sustainable culture and sustainable connection. I love that. What about you, Luke? What was your mind-blown moment?
Well, I liked his that analogy he used about, putting all your eggs in one basket and, one pilot at the helm of a ship, which you have no idea what's going on within the ship, or you have no idea about the mechanics. And I think that is a really interesting way of thinking about how we've operated in the past, and that we're now going to move to this sort of hub and spoke kind of model for agile businesses. So I think that was pretty cool.
Totally. Loved it. So many good takeaways, but next time I think we should do this in Dubai. I don't know. What do you think?
Tick. All right. Boosters on the road. Hooroo. I'm Luke.
Goodbye. I'm Laura. And thank you so much for joining us. For more content that will help you elevate your employee experience and performance, you can find us at centrical.com/boost podcast.
Boost.